I know some of you. I was lucky enough to say hello to you in person. I'm Aman, founder and president for Women at DSO. Thank you to Brian. I know he mentioned us, Women at DSO in the morning, one of our board members. I'm just here to share a little bit about Women in DSO because I still come into these rooms and I wish there were more women representing their organizations, and that's the mission of Women in DSO. Because we have women doing amazing work in great organizations, and we want to get them into leadership positions, but also want them to present their work when we have these industry events. So guys, no offense, I hope you guys are okay with it. So that's our mission, and I wanted to invite you all to our Wellness and Innovation Retreat we are doing on October 16th. It's a day before SmileCon in New Orleans. So if you need any information on that, it's womenindso.org. It's amazingly affordable event, but our goal is to get everyone ready and feel well before they get into the busiest season of the year, the last quarter, and then get their mind ready for having an amazing 2025. So please look us up at womenindso.org for our Wellness and Innovation Retreat a day before SmileCon in New Orleans. And then I am very, very fortunate to have a panel of doctors from 3 AI companies, all combined right here, to talk about dentists' importance of getting clinicians buy-in when we are thinking about integrating any technology. Because DSO's #1 customer is our clinicians. So how we engage them is the key. And so without further ado, I would love to welcome our panelists, Dr. Zara, Dr. Ellie, and Dr. Gordon. So I got to know 3 of them over the past few weeks, and the conversations I have had with you all, I've learned so much. So Dr. Gordon is with Overjet, orthodontist, previously while chairside, and he loves technology. He loves to be an early adopter of technology. So we are going to a little bit dive in with that with Dr. Gordon, and Dr. Ali is with Pearl AI, and previously clinician, and now he has a lot of practices with his associate doctors. So we are going to dive into how he stays still relevant, get buy-in from his clinicians. And Dr. Zara, talk about having a resume. Tough to graduate. Then she thought that everyone talks about getting MBA at MIT, why not? Let's just go for it. So extremely educated, well-known, and Dr. Zara is with Vidya Health. So this is what I love to do at Women in DSO, because we love to have all of us coming from different sides of the businesses coming together. Because in the end, our goal is to elevate the industry. Sometimes it's just a matter of use one technology, doesn't matter what it is. So I'm going to start with Dr. Gordon without taking any more time. You know how we were talking about clinician integration. Let's just get out of the way. What are some best practices you've seen when any DSO or any even dental office is thinking about bringing on a technology?
That's the biggest question, right? That's what we have to solve for. I think it's important to know that in any technological implementation in your organization, it's not possible to roll the thing into the field of play and have it work for itself. We need champions to help us do this, right? And ideally, those are our dentists. We need dentist buy-in to make this technology work. And when we do, the successes are many. So your clinicians are your core champions, your core advocates for that technological innovation and implementation that we all want to see the successes that will roll off of that. You need them as partners.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so I'm going to take it to Dr. Ali. Now that you're not chairside, when you were saying like, hey, let's bring on Pearl, and they're like, well, why do you want Pearl? There is Overjet, there is Vidya, there is another 7 companies. Why this? So how do you make those decisions? Why you're choosing what you're choosing?
Oh, that's a great question. I think that when I incorporated Pearl into my practice, it was about the technology showing patients that what the decay looks like. So it became more of a wow factor as well as a treat now situation. And slowly the team was implementing that and understanding that, so our metrics started to grow. And that's really where we saw a difference in the whole showcase of using Pro. I think that part of the situation was when we brought it on in March of 2023, we started to see that the production per value per patient increased by $74. And that was a lot with 2,000 patients walking in the door. Because patients started to see what the hygienist was showing them in a colored picture of where the decay was. And I think that was really important in kind of getting the point across about treating the teeth.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I know I tried to put you guys on spot, but yeah, how do you say choose this and not that is, I think, what I'm going to get after.
Well, as far as Pro versus Overjet, well, at the time when I was looking at the AI at that situation, I was more impressed with the fact that I think Pro was showing me metrics about how far the decay went into the tooth. That was important to me. Once I saw that situation, and I saw the situation as far as colorization, where patients can now see their x-rays in a color rather than gray, then patients really started to understand what was going on. So that really transformed the whole situation about, treating teeth and treating the mouth and treating periodontal disease.
Wonderful. So, Dr. Zara, let's get into it. Because anytime DSO goes to a clinician and say, we are going to start using laser, we're going to start using in-house milling, we're going to start using AI, the first thing clinicians think, now you're going to want me to produce more revenue. It definitely crosses their mind. So how do you handle something like that, and what do you have something to say about that?
It's a tough conversation to have, but it's one we shouldn't be afraid to have. I think at the end of the day, we have to focus on getting alignment between business goals and outcomes and those of our providers and find areas of overlap. But the truth is that we do want more revenue. We do want to cut costs. We do want to achieve our strategic priorities, and we can't shy away from that and obscure our providers from those goals. We have to bring them into the fold in a way that allows them to see the value that this technology brings to them. And to what Dr. Elliott was saying, once they see the metrics, once they understand the value, well, what dentist doesn't want to see more case acceptance? We all do. Right? We're all striving to deliver the best care for our patients, and one of the biggest obstacles in that is when we see treatment needs and we're not able to deliver them. I think we may surprise ourselves that the aims of the dentist and the aims of the organization are not that far apart.
And I loved when we were discussing in the past outside is it is an investment, and I love that you're saying that don't shy away from it. Yes, we are going to invest in technology, we are going to invest in training the team and the dentist, and we are hoping, why are we doing it? For better patient outcomes, and typically better patient outcomes yield revenue. It's a byproduct. So I think it becomes easy at that point. Dr. Gordon, I'd like you to build on it because I want to bring on how this data can be overwhelming, and is there a way to simplify it?
Actually, I think there is, and to your point, the data can be overwhelming. We're in an era now where we're being bombarded every day with logarithmic increases in this data, right? And it comes at us from all different sides. The good news is the data is very helpful to us. We all recognize that. We need to be able to digest it, however, in manageable bites, right? We have to break it down, filter it down, so that we can actually digest it and then be able to derive insights from it and then take action on it. The good news, again, is that there are folks to help us there, right? As an example, in the analytics platform that we have put out recently, we provide this data, which is huge in number, organizational level, practice level, provider level. But we allow folks to break it down into a very granular basis and then to be able to digest it, understand it, and then to be able to take action on the data. That's the most important part. And I would add that we all have to face that the increases in data that are occurring are going to continue. They're going to get quicker rather than slower. The data that's coming in will not stay the same. It's going to increase logarithmically. We all need to understand that, and understand that it doesn't necessarily have to be complicated, but we need to be able to bring it down into a manageable level, digest it, and then take our actions on it. So it's exciting, I think, but it can be fraught with some trepidation because the level is so tremendous.
I think data is something future generation of dentists and patients want because it creates that transparency and ability to make decisions without having to ask someone, how do you feel about it or think about it? Because when you can make decisions with data, it's so much better than I feel, I believe. It helps you crack through that so quickly. So with that, Dr. Zara, with this future generation of dentists, that's how they prefer communication. Their favorite method of communication is nonverbal, right? And nonverbal, putting the data in front of them or some features. How is this transition going on from the dentists, clinicians who have been practicing for many years, and then there's a newer wave of dentists who want things differently? But what are some best practices to make sure the clinicians who have been practicing are coming along?
So I will say that this is all too real for me as a daughter of two dentists, married to a dentist, and so I witnessed this kind of in action. And anytime we wanted to bring on a new technology, we would have many different voices in the practice, many different opinions on how we should proceed, and the key, in my view, is that no matter whether it's, and let's not put an age on this, right? Because it's not always the older dentist. My dad is a big tech lover, but there is a subset of providers that like the way things are right now, and they have no interest in changing things. Then there's also a subset of the early adopters who are really passionate and excited about bringing new technology. And no matter which subset we are looking at, I think the key is to make sure that they see value in the technology and that they know how to adopt it. Because to my earlier point around financial performance and ROI, the only way we're gonna get that is if the providers and their teams love the product, if they're actually seeing value in it, and then if they're actually using it. So what we really need to do is make sure that they understand what value is bringing and that we are solving the barriers to adoption. It needs to be easy to use, it needs to be easy to implement, and most importantly, they need to have clarity on exactly how it fits into their workflow. Because without that, it's gonna sit, it's gonna collect dust, and it's never gonna be used. If they love it, if they use it, you will see the ROI.
Dr. Ali, I want you to talk about hygienists, because that's a group that's such an important group, and we are thinking about bringing on new technology. Sometimes they are afterthought. And how do you feel about their role in technology integration?
Sure. So first of all, kicking off with Dr. Zara, our job and your job is to bring value. And when you bring value to the team, they're going to multiply that value to others, and that's the patients. So, it's a very great journey that you're going to take on. And for example, when we started with Pearl, and I was using Intel in the office, we were at 6% Perio in 2023. And basically that means that we weren't preventing enough perio, we weren't being accountable for periodontal disease, and number 1 and number 2 diseases in the world are decay and perio. So as that journey progressed with Pearl and implementation, we started to see that metric grow. And currently now we're at 14%. We also did see our case acceptance, which was about 33% last year, and the national average is at 35%, and currently we're at 44%. So those are really important metrics that I'm looking at and figuring out how did that work. And I think it definitely worked with more AI, patients connecting with that. As far as hygienists go, they're spending 45 minutes to an hour with that patient. And I see as they come by an operatory, that hygienist is talking to that patient and showing them that AI picture and colorization is showing them the decay before the doctor walks in. They understand the buy-in happened. They understand why they need to be treated. So it becomes more of a I wouldn't say belief, but a trust from your hygienist to the patient, and then the doctor coming in and explaining the same situation, and the patient is getting that situation as well. So that really creates a great roadway for treatment for patients.
Wonderful. Dr. Gordon, build on this recalibration of the team. That's the team word I like to use is once technology comes in, the perfectly performing teams have to go through that initial phase of forming, norming, storming. Technology does that to teams, and it can sometimes bring a lot of disjointed, dysfunctional teams together because their values were same and they were all around data. So talk about the recalibration of team that needs once technology comes in.
Absolutely, and to your point about the timeline of dentistry, being a legacy dentist, I'll call myself a legacy dentist. I've seen this over and over, and the disruption that comes with adopting these technologies is a big challenge for us in our clinics. There is pushback. It's always who moved my cheese, and I think the opportunity here actually is to force each of us at an individual provider level, a clinic level, and organizational level to look in the mirror. We're being forced to do that right now in dentistry. The transparency is telling us, the data is telling us, we're not doing as well as we should be for our patients. We can do better. And I like the concept of technology pushing us along as a profession to do just that. So recalibrating the teams around new data and new information, I think is an ongoing process. It has the potential to make us all better, and that's what we want, as long as we allow it to make us better. So the team needs to recenter, refocus when new technologies and new data come to the forefront, and grab onto that opportunity to make a change in how you do things. We shouldn't be doing things in dentistry in 2025 like we were doing them in 1990, as an example. And I think it brings a really wonderful opportunity for us.
Dr. Gordon, I'm going to ask you directly. Let's just say we want technology. It's good for the organization. Everything is wonderful. And then here is your top producer dentist who's been top of his game, but he opposes that technology. What do you do?
I run for the hills. That's a challenge, and I think this brings up the point that looking in the mirror that we all are going to have to do, including that experienced dentist, all the way down to the new graduate, is something that we're just faced with in dentistry. We can't run from it. So there may be providers that, if they're unwilling to accept technological changes, might, by way of natural processes, think that it's time to retire, as an example, right? But they can learn things too. They can certainly learn things too. And they can, with the proper coaching, mentorship, with the proper discussions that are appropriately framed, also understand the power of technology, the power of data and what it's telling them to become a better version of themselves.
You're being very politically correct, but I've seen it firsthand. And those are not always legacy dentists or ready to retire. They are sometimes at the top of their game and at the peak of their career. And they are saying, I am doing everything that can be done. I don't need this. So you cannot, what I've learned is you can't push it down their throat. And then they also have a reason why they don't like it, because as clinicians, we have muscle memory. Our eyes and how we look at things, where to look at things, our hands like to go kind of, they're clickers, that's what they say to dental folks. So that's who we are. Their muscle memory, it's a real thing to think about it. So I typically say, let the technology sit with the clinician. Let them sit in it. Let them see what it can do for them. Because at the end, clinicians are logical human beings. So over time, they will have to develop this muscle memory. So I say that leave it with them. Let them say, just try it. If it doesn't work out, no pressure. But they develop this new muscle memory and they become adopters. But they are slower adopters sometimes.
And all of us have to answer the question, what's in it for me?
Yeah.
Oftentimes with clinicians who are resistant, once they can answer the question, what's in it for me, they become adopters. We've seen that over and over.
And with that, what's in it for me is, Dr. Ali, insurance companies, a lot of clinicians, they just look at insurance companies and like, how can we make this simple? So do you consider that ease of working with insurances when you're working about technologies? And do clinicians care in your group?
That's a great question. I mean, first of all, on the ordinance point, it also creates accountability. And it's a hard metric to change, especially in a DSO model, that you have to put more boots on the ground to really help them train and just refocus their mind that this is an aided tool to help them grow in the situation with seeing decay. We all can make mistakes, but if the AI shows us something that we're not catching, that's going to be super important in the growth of taking care of the patients. And I tell my clinicians all the time, I'm like, look, if you go for a colonoscopy, and I know that does not do with insurance, but you're going to walk out with photos of your teeth, right? Photos of your colon. But Pearl, right? You look at your teeth, right? Imagine that, that's nuts, right? But like in Pearl, you can export the PDF and send it to patients, and they can start seeing their images of where the decay is, where the calculus is, where the bone loss is. And if the hygienists are communicating with those patients, you create more connectivity in that situation. As far as insurance companies go, what happens there is they're all using the AI right now to detect periodontal disease. There's nobody sitting there looking at x-rays all day long. So it's a yay or nay in this situation as far as what they see. So it's your AI against their AI saying yes, it's periodontal disease. With Pearl, it measures from the CEJ to the crestal bone. So if it's anything over 2 millimeters, then that's going to be hopefully classified as periodontal treatment. And you can start doing your scaling the root plane for that quadrant or a full mouth treatment in that situation. So you really got to look at it as the fact that insurance companies are looking at the AI. You guys need to be looking at the AI and working together as a team in that situation.
That's great. And since you brought up periodontal disease, Dr. Elling, Dr. Zara, I know for Vidya and Florian's background with his TED Talk about oral systemic connection, how much you see dentists going into oral systemic connection? Now it's as clear as day can be. It's so clear that periodontal disease and all this history and research behind it, but still, do you see clinicians taking oral systemic connection and making it real for patients?
Not yet. And it's unfortunate because I think we all logically know that connection is there, but it comes down to everything we've been talking about, right? Like the theme is like they need to figure out how to change what they're doing today and reimagine the workflow and reimagine how we're showing up for our patients. It's just not happening yet. And I think, Dr. Lee, what you're saying about your practice, what we've seen time and time again with video practice as well, like you're coming from a baseline of like single digit perio cases when you know that the actual percentage is significantly higher and we're under treating our patients. So if we're not even at a point where we are treating all of their dental needs in an effective manner, how can we even think beyond that as dentists and as a dental team? So there's a lot to do on this front.
So Dr. Gordon, so tell me, why are we not doing something where we are making this oral systemic connection more alive and real for patients? Is there that's a huge miss.
It is a big, huge miss, and I think to Zara's point, we really have to do dentistry well first. And I would say, as a lifelong dentist, we in many cases are not doing dentistry as well as we need to do it. Perio and caries are the two most prevalent diseases, as we mentioned, and they are specifically the perio not being addressed well across the board in dentistry. So we have an opportunity with the transparency that technology brings to us to be able to look in the mirror and say what we see. This is who we are as dentists. Can we use a tool to make us better in that regard? So foundational steps, I think. I believe that we will go toward oral systemic connection and overall health. That's inevitable in my view. But it isn't going to happen overnight, I don't think.
So one of my pet peeve with AIs is that they all measure case acceptance rate. And they do measure behind the scenes the missed diagnosed rate. But if you think about it, failure to diagnose is #1 lawsuit in our industry. So how do you all have those conversations and talk about it? Dr. Zara, let's start with you.
To talk about it with our providers.
Yes.
This is really a challenge because there's no dentist out there that believes that they can't read x-rays. Not one, right? None of us here, we all know how to read x-rays. So it's a challenging conversation to have because I think it all comes down to framing. We are not telling our providers when we introduce this technology that you don't know what you're doing, let us help you do it better. What we are trying to tell them is that you have a lot going on. There's a lot of, you're being pulled in many directions. Let us make a few things easier for you. Let us save you time. Let us make sure that this technology is increasing your efficiency and productivity in a way that you can spend more time with your patients. And so again, all the framing that we do has to be from the lens of what do our providers want, what do they value, and how can we help them show up for their patients.
I feel it's such a tired topic. If it's up to me, I would tell the doctors that, hey, what else you need to diagnose what you're seeing? Because they're seeing it. My least favorite is let's put a watch on it, and then it's like, what are you gonna watch it for? Getting hot.
Can I say something? So it's probably something we all know, right? Sometimes we see it, but we're not sure how the patient's gonna receive that, right? Like we're like, this is a resistant patient, let's just watch it for now. There's so much subjectivity. So all of a sudden now we have a way of reducing that subjectivity and objectively showing the patient that, hey, you have all these areas of decay, let's address them. And it just takes out that element of having to sell to our patients, which is really hard to do.
So are you guys seeing less watches now on your data, like you guys have big data?
Yeah, I think we are actually, and to the point about bringing the patient into this discussion, this tool, this technology has a unique position that almost circumvents some of our weaknesses as clinicians to communicate with the patient, right? Let's make the computer the bad guy, the data the bad guy, and an objective assessment of the patient condition. Let's allow the patient to see and understand what we intuitively do, but may have some trepidation about communicating to the patient. That's a big problem in dentistry. And everyone in the room has to face that.
Yeah, it's shifting the why, away from the how. And that's basically what I do with Gordon as well, in the situation that, let the data speak for itself. And especially if you're gonna take, a photo or an x-ray today and then a year later take another one and the patient didn't treat the tooth and all of a sudden the metric says it's, 30% into the dent and now you're at 60%, what are you doing? The patient needs to kind of react in that kind of situation. So, I started practicing in 1990, and that was always back then circle tooth, watch tooth. We're getting out of that philosophy, completely just shying away from it. There's no reason to say, let's just, treat the situation and move forward with that. So that's very important.
That sounds like music to my ears. But it will be fun to see what those watches disappear because with Curadent and a lot of other things, it's such an easy way to treat those things. And I know we have been here talking about technology. It's primarily computer vision, but there is so much other technologies that's coming. AI-directed notes for note-taking for providers, a lot of new things. Sometimes I do feel sorry for our clinicians because every day they're like, what more new to learn? What is there new to learn? And then they also have to learn, continually grow as clinicians while they're developing this other side of their brain to use technology and do what they know better and different. So in kind of like concluding this session, Dr. Gordon, I'm going to start with you. So with that in mind, there is a lot of change happening around us, in many different ways, not just chair side, it's everywhere in the whole practice, the whole system. Patients want to be communicated differently, so much going on. So if you were to say your top 3 things when someone is thinking about bringing on technology into a practice or DSO, your top 3 things, what are those?
Top 3 goals or top 3 wishes?
No, top 3 best practices.
Best practices, again, goes back to the point of calibration, of course. You can't roll any technology into the field of play and expect it to perform for you. You must invest in team training, team calibration. We all have to sing, from the same sheet of music here. But when we do, the music is beautiful, and the performance that flows from that, saying the same message, is very, very, very compelling. Number two, we can't be afraid of technology in any way. We're too far down this road to go back and say, I'm nervous about it. I'm afraid of it taking over the world or things like that. It's going to enhance dental care for our patients and enhance our practices and organizations. There's no question about that. And then I think the third point relates to where artificial intelligence specifically is going within the bigger environment of dentistry. We are heading toward the AI-centric dental practice. And what I mean by that is artificial intelligence technology will be interwoven in every single function of your practice. There won't be anything that you can list, short of maybe going to the bathroom, and I used to have to clean the bathrooms in my offices. That might not be driven by AI, but everything else in your office will be driven by AI. And you'll be able to measure the performance, and ultimately in the long term, this improves care for our patients, it centers the truth in diagnosis, and it improves our lives as clinicians.
That's great. Anything you'd like to add, Dr. Ali, to that?
I just think that connectivity and care is super important with the patients, and they are fully aware with Google of what's going on and what they're expecting coming from an office. And once you keep this dialing down, retraining and constantly training, and showing the team performance, authenticity, transparency, growth, everybody feels that reward in that situation there. So, it's just a matter of time that everything's going to be pointing towards that AI situation. That's
Great.
really where it's at.
And Dr. Zara, anything you'd like to add to what Dr. Gordon and Dr. Ali said?
I mean, first of all, I echo both sentiments, and I think we're all clear on this is the future. The one thing I will add is that this accountability, transparency that we talked about, that we're afraid of sometimes, that are hard things for us to touch on, these are essential in order to align what is in the best interest of our patient, what is in the best interest of our providers, and what is in the best interest of our enterprise. And getting that alignment is going to be key to helping serve.
Awesome. So I just want to kind of conclude, this is what our consensus were outside too. So we talk about customer service, customer centered, but I think we need to get to customer obsession and patient obsession. If we keep that patient centricity at the center of it, we will be successful no matter what we do. And when it comes to technology, it's a funny thing because there are a lot of offices that are bringing on different technologies and not using their intraoral cameras. I mean, nothing resonates patients with better than what they know. Teeth they can see, bleeding gums they can see. So ultimately, it really comes down to using the technology, and you can't, DSOs and others can't make that decision without clinician buying into it. So get them at the forefront of it. Well, thank you so much. I feel like I learned so much. Thank you so much, everyone.